Pre-Spanish period. During the pre-Hispanic times, the education was suitable to their needs. There was no formal schooling. It was formless with untypical methods of teaching. Teaching was mostly practical and hands-on. Parents or usual the tribal tutors provided the learners vocational training more than the academics. This vocational training varies on their locations industries. Education was still decentralized during pre-Spanish period, and they used a unique system of writing known as baybayin, which is also known as the alibata, an ancient writing system that was used before. The next one is the Spanish period. Education during these times was controlled by the Spanish missionaries or the friars. The friars established parochial schools linked with churches to teach catechism to the natives. Education was formal during these times. It was managed, suppressed, and controlled, but insufficient in a way that its main focus was religious education, together with the Spanish language. It was for the elite, especially in the early years of Spanish colonization. And also, during this period, there was a separate school for boys and girls. The oldest universities, colleges, vocational schools, and the first modern education system were created during the colonial period. And next, the Augustinians opened a school immediately upon arriving in Cebu in 1565. The Franciscans arrived in 1577 and immediately taught the people literacy aside from the teaching of industrial and agricultural techniques. The Jesuit who arrived in 1581 also concentrated on teaching the young and followed also the Dominicans in 1587 with their first mission in Bataan. Access to modern public education by all Filipinos was made possible through the enactment of the Education Decree of 1863 dated December 20, 1863. At least one primary school for boys and girls in each town was established under the responsibility of the municipal government. And also there were three grades, which is Entrada, Ascenso, and Termino. The curriculum scope the study of Christians' doctrine, values, and history, as well as reading and writing in Spanish, mathematics, agriculture, singing, world geography, and Spanish history. Girls were also taught sewing. Official name of the department under this decree was Superior Commission of Primary Instructions, with chairman as the official titular head. A free public normal school for male teachers, supervised by the Jesuit, were also provided in Manila. Under this decree, later on in 1875, normal school for women teachers were also established in Nueva Cáceres. Despite the decree, basic education in the Philippines remained inadequate for the rest of the Spanish period. And also, Emilio Aguinaldo revolutionary government faded its way after the Spanish colonial government was defeated by the American forces. The school established during the Spanish era were closed for a time being but were reopened on August 29, 1898 by the Secretary of Interior. The Malolos Constitution made elementary education compulsory and free. The Literary University of the Philippines or the Universidad Literaria de Filipinas on October 19, 1898 were established by the Aguinaldos. The Borges Institute in Malolos and the Military Academy of Malolos were also established under this period. He also decreed that all diplomas awarded by UST after 1898 be considered null and void. Tagalog was established as the national language by the Constitution of Biak na Bato, but reading, writing, and literary studies in Spanish were still given prominence. The third one is the American period. Under the American rule, education became a significant issue. Americans inflected the principal goal of educating Filipinos the knowledge of self-government, imparting the English language, their cultural values, and American history lead in building a national identity and strengthening Filipino nationalism. Education during this period was considered as one of the United States' top priorities in the Philippines. Every child from age 7 was required to register in schools located in their town or province. There were three levels of education during this period: the elementary level, which consisted of four primary years and three intermediate years. Secondary level is consisted of 4 years, and the third was college or the tertiary level. Religious instruction was abolished and excluded in the curriculum of the schools. The American soldiers served as the first teachers of the Filipinos at that time. Part of their mission was to build classrooms in every place where they were assigned. In January 21, 1901, centralized public school system was installed by the Philippine Commission by virtue of Act Number 74. It called for the recruitment of 600 trained teachers from America, and they were the Thomasites. The Americans gave bright young people, or the young Filipino students, opportunity to take up higher educations in American colleges and universities. These Filipinos came to be known as pensionados, for their educations in the United States was financed by the government in the Philippines. Hundreds of Filipinos pensionados were able to study in the US until 1928. From the ranks of these pensionados came the future civic, business, and political leaders of our country. Hungry for education, the Filipinos flocked to public and private schools in large numbers. The next one is the Commonwealth period. Education was sustained to be given the same attention even from the Commonwealth government. The National Council of Education served as an advisory body on educational matters created by President Manuel Quezon in 1936. Auxiliary improvements and recommendations on the educational system in the country were made by the council, and this enhancement with the assistance of government were acknowledged and carried out. In a compliance with the mandate of 1935 Constitution, a structured effort to develop a common national language was driven during the Commonwealth administration. Vocational and adult learnings were also given emphasis during this phase. President Quezon issued his famous Code of Ethics, which was required to be taught in all schools to help build up the moral values of the Filipinos and Filipino nationalism. He prominently encouraged also the revival of the native cultures among Filipinos. By virtue of the Educational Act of 1940, numerous changes were made in the Philippines. Under this law, the elementary level was reduced from 7 years to 6 years. The minimum age of admission to grade 1 was raised to 7. And instead of the school year from June to March, it was changed to July and to April. The next one is during the Japanese period. Japanese educational policies were embodied in Military Order Number 2 in 1942. The Philippine Executive Commission established the Commission of Education, Health and Public Welfare. Schools were reopened in June 1942. On October 14, 1943, the Japanese-sponsored republic created the Ministry of Education. Under the Japanese regime, Tagalog Philippine history and character education were the focus. Love for our work and dignity of our labor was emphasized. On February 27, 1945, the Department of Instruction was made part of the Department of Public Instruction. The last one is the Republican period. In 1947, after the United States relinquished all its authority over the Philippines, President Manuel Rojas issued Executive Order Number 94, which renamed Department of Instruction into Department of Education. During this period, the regulations and supervision of public and private schools belonged to the Bureau of Public and Private Schools. In 1972, the Department of Education became the Department of Education and Culture, which is the DECS, under the Proclamations of 1081, which was signed by the President Ferdinand Marcos. In 1978, by the Presidential Decree Number 1397, DECS became the Ministry of Education and Culture. The Education Act of 1982 provided for an integrated system of education covering both formal and non-formal education at all levels. In Section 29 of the Act sought to upgrade educational institution standards to achieve quality of education through voluntary accreditation for schools, colleges, and universities. In Section 16 and 17, upgraded the obligations and qualifications required for teachers and administrators. In Section 41, provided for government financial assistance to private schools. This act also created the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports. In 1987, the Ministry of Education, Cultures, and Sports became again the DEC under Executive Order Number 117. The structure of DECS as embodied in the order remained practically unchanged until 1994. On May 18, 1994, the Congress passed Republic Act 7722 or the Higher Education Act of 1994, creating the Commission on Higher Education, which is the CHED, which assumed that functions of the Bureau of Higher Education and supervised tertiary degree programs. On August 25, 1994, the Congress passed Republic Act 7796 or the Technical Education and Skills Development Act of 199, creating the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, which is the TESDA, which absorbed the Bureau of Technical Vocational Education as well as the National Manpower and Youth Council, and began to supervise non-degree technical vocational programs. In August 2001, Republic Act 9155, otherwise called the Governance of Basic Education Act, was passed. This act changed the name of DECS to the current Department of Education, which is DepEd, and they redefine the role of field offices, regional offices, division offices, district offices, and schools. The Act provided the overall framework for school empowerment by strengthening the leadership roles of headmasters and fostering transparency and local accountability for school administrations. The goal of basic education was to provide the school age populations and young adults with skills, knowledge, and values to become caring, self reliant, productive, and patriotic citizens. Introduced in 2011 by the Department of Education or the DepEd, the K 12 program made kindergarten a prerequisite to basic education. It lengthened basic schooling to include a 2 year senior high school and offered technical and vocational courses to the students not planning to go to college, thus giving them more chances of getting employed in blue collar work. Under the Republic Act number 1053-3 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2003. This act enhancing the Philippine basic education system by strengthening its curriculum and increasing the number of years basic education, appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes. So in school year 2011 to 2012, universal kindergarten implementation begins. So in the year 2012 to 2013, enhanced curriculum for grades 1 to 7 implemented. In the year 2013, K to 12 enacted into law. In the year of 2014, curriculum for grades 11 and 12 finished. In the year of 2015, getting ready for the implementation of senior high schools. Senior high school in school year 2016 and